Once upon a time, in a great kingdom filled with towering castles, golden fields, and rivers that sparkled in the sunlight, there lived a wise and powerful king. Though he had wealth beyond imagination and armies at his command, there was something that troubled him deeply. He had 3 questions that he believed held the key to ruling his kingdom wisely and living a truly fulfilling life. When is the best time to do anything? Who is the most important person? What is the most important thing to do? The king thought, if I knew the answers to these questions, I would never fail in anything I do. So, he sent messengers across the land, calling upon the wisest scholars, philosophers, and advisors. Many came, each with their own answers, but none of them satisfied the king. Some said the best time was to plan ahead. Others said it was to live in the moment. Some said the most important person was a great king. Others said it was the strongest warrior. And as for the most important thing to do, some claimed it was conquering more land, while others said it was seeking knowledge. The king grew frustrated. No one truly knows the answer, he thought. But he refused to give up. And so, he decided to seek the wisdom of a hermit, a man known throughout the kingdom for his deep understanding of life. One morning, the king left behind his royal robes and golden crown, dressed in simple clothes, and rode into the mountains alone. He did not want his guards or advisors to come with him. If this hermit was truly wise, the king wished to meet him as a humble seeker, not as a ruler. After a long journey through forests and rocky paths, he arrived at a small wooden hut, where he found the hermit, a thin, elderly man with a long white beard, digging in the earth with his hands. The king approached and asked, "Wise hermit, I have come seeking answers to 3 questions." Without looking up, the hermit continued digging, as if he had not heard him. The king repeated his questions. When is the best time to do anything? Who is the most important person? And what is the most important thing to do? But the hermit still said nothing. He looked tired and weak, yet he kept working, his hands moving slowly through the soil. The king felt a mix of frustration and curiosity. He thought, perhaps he is too weak to answer. So, he stepped forward and said, "Let me help you." And so, the mighty king, who had once sat upon a throne of gold, knelt down and began digging the earth with his own hands, alongside the hermit. Hours passed, and the king, though exhausted, kept working. Just as he was about to ask the hermit again, a man suddenly stumbled out of the forest, clutching his stomach, covered in blood. The king rushed to the man's side and saw that he had a deep wound. Without hesitation, he tore a piece of his own clothing, bandaged the wound, and carried the man into the hermit's hut. There, he stayed all night, tending to him until the stranger finally opened his eyes. The next morning, the injured man looked at the king with tears in his eyes and said, "Your Majesty, you have saved my life." The king, surprised, asked, "Who are you? Why were you in the forest?" The man hesitated, then confessed, "I was your enemy. I swore to take revenge on you for what I believed was a great injustice. I hid in the woods, waiting to attack you when you returned home. But when your guards didn't come, I decided to follow you. Your men found me and wounded me. I barely escaped." He took a deep breath and continued, "But now, after what you have done for me, how can I harm you? You have saved me, and now I am forever loyal to you." The king was stunned. The man who had once been his enemy, who had wished him harm, was now swearing allegiance to him because of kindness. The king stood in silence, reflecting on what had happened. Then, he turned to the hermit and said, "I still do not have my answers." The hermit smiled. "But you do," he said. "Yesterday, if you had not stayed to help me dig, you would have been attacked on your way home. The most important time was when you were digging. The most important person was me, because I was with you in that moment. And the most important thing to do was to help, because kindness is what changes the world." The hermit continued, "Later, the most important time was when you cared for the wounded man. The most important person was him. and the most important thing to do was to save his life. And now, he is no longer your enemy, but your friend. The king's eyes widened with understanding. His 3 great questions had been answered, not with words, but through experience. He bowed deeply before the hermit and returned to his kingdom, carrying not just wisdom, but a new way of living. This story teaches us a simple yet profound truth. The best time to do anything is now, because the present is all we truly have. The most important person is the one beside you, because they are part of your journey. The most important thing to do is to help others, because kindness is what makes life meaningful. So the next time you wonder what matters most, remember this. Live in the moment, cherish those around you, and never underestimate the power of a simple act of kindness. Did this story make you think differently about life? Share your thoughts in the comments. Like and subscribe for more inspiring storytelling. Turn on notifications so you never miss a new story.